You're listening to CherryPickin Entertainment.
Throw me the ball and watch what I do with it.
You are now tuned into the CherryPickin podcast with your host, Andre Cherry.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Andre Cherry, your buddy, your friend, your pal, your host of the CherryPickin podcast. I'm excited to be back on the mic. I'm excited that college football is right around the corner. I hope you're pumped too. We're in the summer months, so we don't have much longer until college football kicks off towards the end of August. We're approaching July right now, if you can believe it or not. I feel like this summer has flown by, but I am thrilled to have the opportunity to speak to you today. Hopefully dust a little bit of the rust off. I know I haven't talked to you in a minute. Hopefully you're doing okay. Hopefully you're well. And I just really want to get into this with you all. There are a few topics I want to talk about today, and I plan to produce content as much as I'm able to. I'm not going to lie. I have a newer job. I can't say new anymore. I've been there for a little over a year now, but my job has had me extremely busy. I've been on the road a bunch and just trying to be successful at what I do in my professional life. But I did want to find time to talk about college football, to just talk to you about a few topics that are relevant today. This podcast gives me a lot of joy. It makes me feel good. And so I just wanted to feel good again. I wanted to have that opportunity to talk to you all. And I appreciate if you are listening to this episode, you've downloaded it, you're a previous follower of CherryPickin. I appreciate you immensely. Thank you very much for being with me on this journey, on this ride. This is now, I believe, the 6th season of the CherryPickin podcast. So we've come a long way, and I'm excited that you're still here with me. If you're a new listener to this podcast, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you follow along on this journey, and I hope you enjoy what I put out fairly regularly once the college football season kicks off. I try to put out an episode like every week. So I'll try to do that as we approach the college football season, the kickoff to the official season. But just want to say thank you to all listeners, to all followers. I really sincerely appreciate it. You don't know how much this means to me, and I just like having a little audience to talk college football to. So if you want to follow me, you can follow me at Twitter at Cherry_Pickin, and we can interact there. But again, I appreciate the download, appreciate the support, appreciate the likes, the comments. I appreciate you. But let's just hop right into this. So I've been meaning to talk about this guy for a minute since he got hired to his new head coaching job. He's such a big figure in life in college football. And by now you may know who I'm talking about, but this gentleman, he was the former coach of Jackson State and HBCU. He went to Colorado, and so by now you should know I'm talking about Deion Sanders, Coach Prime. This dude was an all-star at Florida State, two-way player, two-sport athlete, baseball, football. Certainly you know his stats. You know what he did in the NFL. You know what he did in the MLB. The dude is just a playmaker. He is a playmaker. He is a legend. He's now dipped his toes into college football. He's been a coach for a few seasons at Jackson State. He made the jump to Colorado. He'll be in his first year coaching big-time football on the Power 5 level. I can tell you, honestly, I didn't think that Colorado was the right fit for him. Like, I thought initially this guy would be somewhere maybe in the southeast region of the country. Colorado opened up, reached out to Coach Prime. Coach Prime accepted the opportunity. He's out there, so he's starting his journey in college football coaching. I say officially. Jackson State, he did some good things on the HBCU level and that circuit. He's a good motivator of men. I'm interested to see what he'll do in Colorado, Pac-12 program. It's a step up. I don't think this is his final place that he'll land in terms of the trajectory for his career. Say he should be successful at Colorado. I think there's other programs that are waiting to reach out to him should this experiment with Colorado work out. I call it an experiment because, again, I'm not entirely sold that this is the right fit for him. But I think Deion Sanders it's boom or bust. I don't think there's any in between. I don't think there's any gray there. I think he's going to be really successful at Colorado, or it's going to just flame out. I say give him a year. Give him a year to get his feet solid, his feet wet. But he's making a lot of moves at Colorado. He's making a lot of transactions, should you say, through the player portal. There were a lot of players coming in. I think there may have been more players leaving the program at my last count. And I wanted to kind of go in on him. Like, I'm not going to lie. Initially, when I was thinking that I wanted to talk about Coach Prime, I was like, I got to go in on this guy because that video that we saw like 6 months ago when he was meeting the team and he was just introducing himself to the team, telling the team what to expect. When I saw short clips of that several months ago, I'm like, man, who does this guy think he is? Like, he's coming in, he's kind of ruffling some feathers. What does he think that these players owe him? Like, this is their program, albeit they were pretty bad last year. He's a new guy coming in, and he's telling them, you better get ready, pack your bags. Not exactly like that, but that's the general sense, the general vibe that he was putting down. I'm the new guy coming in. This is how it's gonna be, and if you're not with it, you gotta go. When I saw that last year, I was like, man, who does this guy think he is? I know it's Coach Prime. I know he's a tremendous character, tremendous athlete back in the day, a solid leader. I just thought that was the wrong approach to take. But when I looked at it, when I watched it back right before doing this podcast, I'm like, you know what? I actually don't see anything in here that makes me feel uncomfortable. I mean, he basically said, I'm coming. It was like a 17-minute clip that I saw on YouTube. He kept repeating, I'm coming. I'm coming. I'm bringing some players with me. They're hunters. They're hungry. They're coming. Like, we are coming. Basically just getting them ready. There's going to be new blood pumped into this program. We're coming. Are you ready? Are you down with it? If not, pack your bags. There's the door. You're gone. And I think at one point he even said, we're going to try and make you quit. Meaning it's going to be hard work. Playtime is over. You were terrible last year. If you're looking at the record, terrible outcome. You're not going to a bowl game. I think he even said, I'm talking to you right now while other teams are playing, while other schools are playing football. You're here listening to me speak to you. I'm coming. I'm coming to change this around. It's going to be a new look, new feel. And so if you're with it, you're with it. If not, there's a door. Pack your bags. You got to go. I don't know why last year that rubbed me the wrong way, but when I watched it back just now, I'm like, you know what? He's not saying anything that's unreasonable. He's basically just saying it's going to be a new program. I'm their new head coach. Let's go. Are you down with me? Are you not? I actually wish him luck. I don't want him to be a joke. I don't want him to be a laughingstock because there are so few African-American coaches in college football as a head coach. Like, I want him to be successful, and for his brand, I want him to be a coach that people fear. And right now I don't have that sense yet. Like, I think he needs to prove himself, certainly. I don't know what Colorado will do this season. I'm looking forward to watching more of their games. I can tell you I have more interest in Colorado now than I did the past, 5-6 years. So there'll be people like me watching Colorado football to see what happens. So, I mean, that's got to be a good thing for the program when you're getting more eyes on the program. Hopefully you can turn it around, because if Colorado can be good at football, I think that's good. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be the old school Big 10 or Big 12 rather. When Colorado had some success there, I'm thinking more like Chris Brown era, where Colorado was decent. They weren't really a laughingstock. They're not really a joke. If he can just be competitive in the Pac-12 with that program, I think the sky's the limit for him, certainly. Because I think at the end of the day, it's about his brand. And I think he's not going to stop. I think there's probably another program or two where he'll land after Colorado, but it's either boom or bust. I don't see any in between. I don't see him being mediocre at Colorado. I just, either it's going to work or it's not going to work. And he's had a lot of players leaving, which is what you typically see when a new coach comes in, when a new regime comes into a program. There's a number of players that will exit. I think the last count that I saw, I want to say there may have been like over 50 players who have exited the program through the portal. Don't quote me on that, but I want to say the number was pretty high. I know he's had a good number of players coming in when he was announced as the head coach. I think there was like over 40 players that I saw transferring into the portal to Colorado. So, it's all going to balance out, but he's got to kind of weed the players out that he doesn't need on his team. And so he's doing that right now, and it was making some news in the headlines. If you follow college football, the players leaving, players coming, players going. I'm curious to see how once it all settles out, once we get closer to the season, we kick off here, what the Colorado Buffalo program looks like with Deion Sanders as his head coach. I think it was a tremendous get from Colorado to get a big name like that, splash it up out of the Pac-12 rather, and I think it was good timing for that program. I'm just curious to see what Coach Prime can do. His son has just recently joined him there as well as a player, so we shall see what the future holds in store for Coach Prime. I just immediately I wanted to talk about him because he is such a polarizing figure. I wanted to roast him, if I'm being honest, but when I watched it back, I'm like, you know what? I can't roast this guy. He's been so successful anywhere he's gone, and he's just trying to get this team to wake up. He needs to get these players to wake up because he doesn't want that team to have a loser mentality. If you're not used to winning, if you're not used to good leadership, you don't know what you're missing. You don't know how good it can get. And I think Coach Prime is the right guy for that program. While it may not look right to me, him all the way out there in the mountains, I do wish him success, and I hope that he can be successful because he is a fun figure. And so I'm not rooting for this guy's downfall. I just didn't know initially when I saw that clip 6 months back if that was the right approach to take. I watched it back today, and I'm like, you know what? He's just being a good head coach. So wish him luck. We'll see what happens. We'll certainly be following him as the season goes along. Deion Sanders also had some news recently as of a few days ago for an emergency procedure. He had blood clots in his legs, and so there were some rumors, speculation that maybe he'd have to have his foot amputated. It looks as if that was unlikely, and I don't think that happened, and I'm just looking at some news from CBSSports.com. Deion Sanders will undergo emergency surgery to treat 2 blood clots in his legs, one in his right and left. So he had a blood clot in each of his legs. The procedure was scheduled for Friday, so I'm recording this on Saturday, June 24th. So he had the surgery yesterday. This came amid ongoing blood flow issues that have plagued Deion Sanders, which dated back to his coaching days at Jackson State. There's a quote directly from Deion Sanders, and I'll read it here, and it goes, and I quote, "Now this is what happened. I went to the doctors the other day to check myself out, and I have 2 clots in my leg. One in my right leg, one in my left leg in my thigh," Sanders said. "Now I have a procedure tomorrow to try and get those clots so I can have proper blood flow through the leg so I can fix the toes." End quote. The news was released from Adam Pac-Man Jones, who I believe was on the Pat McAfee show a couple days ago, talked about it. And I believe, if I'm not wrong, I thought Deion Sanders had to amputate a couple of his toes. Y'all know what I'm talking about? I think he had 2 of his toes amputated in the past for circulation issues. Yeah, he did have 2 toe amputations in his left foot, so that's certainly scary. Scary, scary stuff. So prayers up to him and his family, certainly. I thought I saw that he had a successful procedure done already, so I just wanted to talk about that because it did just come up recently, and it's tied to Coach Prime, which a big figure in sports and in life. So definitely prayers up to Coach Prime there, but scary stuff. But it sounds like he's on the right path to recovery, so that's good.
Want to know what life is really like after the game is all over? Real athletes are here to share their true stories of adversity and triumph every week on After Orange Slices. Even if you don't like sports, pro athletes, former college stars, celebrities, coaches, public speakers, doctors, and all kinds of experts join the show, and there's a little bit of something for everybody. Join me, Bridget, for a slice of inspiration, plus your everyday sports news sprinkled in. New episodes every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, available anywhere you get your podcasts.
Basketball is back. And with that comes joy, tension, heartbreak, buzzer beaters, and elation. It's time to be courtside for every one of those moments, no matter where your team is playing. Short Court specializes in making replica and custom basketball courts for your home, office, sports cave to decorate your walls with all those memories. If you have a picture, we can recreate it. Featured in the 2021 UniWatch Holiday Gift Guide, short courts are made using real wood. We frame and give them an epoxy finish to protect the new centerpiece of your memorabilia collection. With previous customers including Northern Kentucky University, Southern Utah University, 199 Apparel, the Perimeter Podcast with Adam Morrison, and many more celebrating the careers and retirements of their coaches, it's time you visit shortcourts.com for more info and a gallery of our work, or you can send us an email, info@shortcourts.com. Be sure to find us on social media, just search for Short Courts. It's time to bring the home court home.
In other news, we had LSU vacating wins from the NCAA. This just broke a few days ago. LSU has to vacate all wins from 2012 through 2015. So that's a big chunk of time. Those were the years that Les Miles was the head coach. And because of the NCAA vacating these victories, Les Miles is no longer eligible for the College Football Hall of Fame. So that is crazy. LSU had to vacate all of its wins from 2012 to 2015 after a review of violations from the NCAA's Independent Accountability Resolution Panel. So the Tigers in total are vacating 37 wins, which includes 2 bowl games, because of former offensive lineman Vidal Alexander. He was ineligible for his entire collegiate career, which is crazy. Prior to the penalty, Miles' record as the head coach was 145 wins to 73 losses. His official record now is 108 wins to 73 losses. Candidates for the College Football Hall of Fame must have a minimum of a 600 career win percentage to be eligible for induction, and with the vacating of these games, he's slightly below 600 at 597. So LSU actually self-imposed a penalty back in 2022, but it was confidential until the ruling became finalized on Thursday. LSU is also going to self-impose scholarship reductions, losing 8 football scholarships and 2 men's basketball scholarships. Alexander was ineligible because his father had received $180K in embezzled funds from John Paul Foons, former head of the Our Lady of the Lake Foundation. Vidal Alexander's mom was also offered a job by this gentleman who was embezzling funds, and then also offered his father a position at the foundation as well. So this incident was considered a level 1 violation, which is why they are taking these wins away and punishing LSU. The NCAA also punished Odell Beckham and banned the NFL star from the Tigers facility for 2 years for handing out cash on the sideline during the national championship game in 2020. Odell Beckham is a man of the people, but that is a no-no. To be giving out cash to players during the national championship game, which is crazy. LSU is currently on probation due to recruiting violations committed by former offensive line coach James Craig. The program's probation will be under 3 more years of probation starting in September due to this recent ruling. If you do something like that, the NCAA comes down with an iron fist. So they got LSU. And LSU self-imposed these sanctions on themselves, but the NCAA confirmed it and made it public. So that is unfortunate for LSU. Yikes. Other than that, I've been busy with work travel, like I mentioned. I actually was just in North Carolina about a month or so ago, maybe less. I can't even keep track. I was down in Raleigh, North Carolina, which, as you know, if you know me, I love NC State. And so it was a bit of a homecoming for me to be back in Raleigh. I hadn't been in Raleigh since I was a kid, I want to say. Since my days going to the Chuckamotto football camp. May have been the last time that I have been on NC State's campus. So it's quite a while, man. When I touched down at RDU, I immediately beelined it to the NC State campus. I hit up Carter Finley Stadium, which is along the way. Just looked around the stadium, to be honest. I mean, there's nothing going on besides some construction workers. I think I came in on a Sunday. It may have been like early Sunday afternoon, and nobody was around, but they were working. Construction workers were working on installing this Jumbotron that they're going to have in the back end zone. I found that crazy because the stadium, the Jumbotron that they're putting in looks massive. It looks pretty big. Like, you could see the frame of what's going to go in to what they were building, and they're going to put the Jumbotron screen in there somehow. So I thought that was pretty impressive that they're revamping the program or revamping the stadium, making it look modern and giving it all the bells and whistles of modern college football stadiums today. So it was cool. I couldn't go in the stadium, of course. It was locked, but I was able to just look around the outside of the stadium, saw a lot of the signage, saw a lot of the All-American plaques that were outside the stadium gates, and I'll put all these pictures on my website for you to see. But it was cool just coming back home to NC State, toward the campus for a little bit. Again, I hadn't been there since I was a kid. I remember the days when I'd go to the Chuckamotto football camp. It was so cool as a kid. Also, Herb Sindak basketball camp. I went at least once or twice to that basketball camp that they had in Reynolds Coliseum. And I was just a huge NC State fan growing up. My father graduated from the school back in 81, I want to say 81 or 82. So it was just, I had all sorts of emotions and feelings just being back on campus, just stepping foot on the grounds, just walked around. Nice late spring day. Really weren't too many people around, but the school looks incredible. They've made a lot of improvements since the last time I had been there. And it was just really, really fun being back on campus, even if it was just for a few hours. Hit up the campus bookstore, got way too much NC State swag, sent my dad some stuff for Father's Day. Ate Bojangles. I love Bojangles. We don't have Bojangles up here in Philly, but Bojangles has to have the best biscuits in the game. I get the breakfast sandwiches, and their biscuits are just so moist, so delicious. Like, it's just incredible. I love Bojangles. Had that at least once, but it was just cool being back there. I hope to get back there for a game at some point, maybe this season. I was hoping last season NC State would really break through and break that glass ceiling to become the program in the ACC. I wanted them to win the Atlantic, win the ACC conference overall outright, but that did not happen. There was a lot of hype coming into last season for NC State. I think they were ranked in the AP at preseason, but then they just faltered along the way. And I'm so passionate about NC State because I want them to be successful. I don't want to be anybody's little brother. I don't want to be some afterthought. I want NC State to be a champion. Last season, I thought, was the season. We were primed to do it. Clemson was down. Florida State, hasn't been the same. They actually had a great end of their season last year. Hats off to Florida State and that program. But I just thought that everything was looking perfect for NC State to go on a run last season. They didn't do it. Devin Leary had a lot of hype coming into the season. He was a Heisman frontrunner, and he got hurt, ended his season. The Wolfpack went 8-5, which is disappointing because they had won, I think, 9 games the year prior. So there weren't a lot of good vibes around NC State last season the way it ended, and I'm hoping this year they can surprise me. They're not on anyone's radar, so to speak. So this is the time for them to do it. And so I'm fingers crossed that NC State can do it. Fingers crossed that I can get back there, get back home to see a game this season. But I had a lot of fun going to NC State, and I'm hoping that they can do something in football this year. Last year they went to the Duke Mayo Bowl game, and I have no idea what Duke's Mayo is all about. I literally do not know that I've ever seen Duke's Mayo on the shelves up here in Philly. Is it a Southern thing? Like, how does it taste? How does it compare to Hellman's? Because I'm a Hellman's guy through and through. Like, I ride hard for Hellman's Mayo. If you got like a ham turkey sandwich in front of me, I'm slapping and lathering some mayo on both of those buns, on both of those sides of bread, and I'm enjoying it. I love the taste of Hellman's Mayo. It is delicious. Now, if you come at me with some Miracle Whip, you better step back, because that stuff is nasty to me. It's too sweet. It's just not, it's not mayo, in my opinion. There's two people in this world. You either ride for Hellman's or you ride for Miracle Whip. If you like Miracle Whip, you're just not my friend, because Miracle Whip tastes awful to me. Who enjoys Miracle Whip? For real, let me know if you enjoy the taste of Miracle Whip, because it just doesn't hit right. So if Duke's Mayo is somewhere in between Hellman's and Miracle Whip, I may try it one of these days just to see what I'm missing, but I honestly have never seen Duke's Mayo on the shelf anywhere that I've lived. So I don't know if it's a Southern thing or what, but keep it. Keep it for now. Other than that, I think I'm about to hop out of here. I just wanted to do a little shorty, just get back on the mic, dust the rust off a little bit. There's some things that I'm looking forward to this season, and we'll spend some more time as we move forward this season talking about college football, all things college football. But Temple football, Temple is literally, if I turn from my studio right now, I can see Temple's campus just several blocks down the road from me. I want to cover Temple football. I used to cover Temple football quite a bit on my podcast. It's been hard getting access to Temple football, I'm not going to lie. I used to get a lot of their materials that would help me prep for college football and like what they're doing around the program, but it's been at least a season where I haven't had any of that same luck this year. So they've been a tough nut to crack. But I will, of course, follow Temple football because they are in my backyard. They were doing some exciting things several years ago, and so now they're kind of in a state where they're trying to get back to some sort of relevance in college football, at least out of the American Conference. Stan Drayton came in last season, his first year at the helm. He went 3-9 during that first year at Temple. I really am looking to see what he can do in year two. The Temple Owls, if you can believe it or not, they haven't had a winning season since 2019. And if you're familiar with Temple football, at least in the last decade or so, they've been churning out some solid players that have gone to the NFL that have been drafted very high out of the draft. They've got some playmakers that have done some things in the NFL, certainly, and they were a good program. They were pretty solid for a little while there, and they've fallen off. And Stan Drayton is the guy that they brought in last season to try to turn it around. Really want to see what they can do this year. I may try to get out to a game or two this season. I think Miami is coming into town. I haven't looked at the schedule, but I believe the Miami Hurricanes will be in Philly this season. So I'll definitely have to try to go out for that. I really will be keeping my eyes on sophomore quarterback E.J. Warner. You know his father, Kurt Warner, NFL legend. E.J. Warner started last year as a true freshman. He amassed the 5th most passing yards in the American Conference with over 3,000 yards, which was impressive for a freshman to come in and do that. This guy's got the pedigree. This guy's got a lot of talent. He's a hard worker, and I think the sky's the limit for E.J. Warner. Excited to see what he can do with some better playmakers this season and seeing what another year of experience will do for him. While he threw the 5th most passing yards out of the conference, he also threw the most interceptions in the conference at 12, which is not uncommon. I mean, freshman quarterback, that's not something to be worried about. I think he only improves from here, but E.J. Warner is going to be a name that you're going to hear talked about in college football for a minute. So I'm excited to see what he can do. I'm excited to see what the program can do this season for Temple football. So it's a clean slate. Everybody's 0-0. Everybody has 0 wins, 0 losses. And once you kick off, we'll see where the chips may fall, but there's a lot of possibilities for where they can go. And so they can hopefully only go up from here. Just looking forward to seeing if they can get back to the glory days that they once had. I'm also going to be looking out to see if Tennessee has the staying power this season. Head coach Josh Heupel, he seems like the man for the Volunteers. He's had a winning season the last 2 years that he's been a head coach at that program, including an incredible 11-2 record last season. Regular season wins last year against 5 ranked opponents, including Alabama, which is major. That's impressive. They weren't ranked to start the season, but they jumped up as high as number 2 in the AP poll, if you can believe it or not. And the Vols hadn't been ranked that high since 2001, when Philip Fulmer was still rocking the white and orange. So it's been quite a long time since the Volunteers have reached the heights that they reached last season. If you remember a few seasons ago, a lot of people thought that the sky was falling. I think they had lost to Georgia Southern a few seasons ago. You had people on ESPN, a lot of people in college football just saying, oh man, the sky's falling. This is rock bottom. This is the worst it's been. Little did they know Tennessee would actually go on to go to a bowl game that same season, even though they lost to Georgia Southern. But it's remarkable what a new head coach can do. And I say new, he's been there. He's now in his 3rd season, but kind of some new blood into the program. What a season can do. They're 11-2 last season. They went as high as number 2. They had a chance to make it to the playoffs. I thought that they would make it, but they just couldn't hold on. And the injury to Hendon Hooker certainly was pretty major to their success last season in terms of kind of capping them at where they could go. I mean, 11-2 is great. I honestly thought they could have gone to the playoffs, if I'm being real. And when he got hurt, that kind of just took the air out of things. But I'm really excited to see what this program can do. I think college football is good when Tennessee is relevant. I think the same can be said for programs like Texas and Nebraska, some of these blue blood programs. It's been a while since Tennessee has been relevant, and so I'm hoping that Josh Heupel can do it again this season. I don't know what it'll look like from an offensive standpoint without quarterback Hendon Hooker, who was fantastic last season for the Volunteers. He's the SEC Offensive Player of the Year last season, but with him gone now in the NFL to the Lions, I'm curious if the Volunteers can replicate the success that they had offensively and the success that he had at that position last year, because he was a dynamic player. And just, it's fun when Tennessee is fun, and it's a program that was kind of pumping some blood into the SEC. I mean, because we've had programs like Georgia and Alabama, they've been dominant. But having a program like Tennessee, which I want to say came out of nowhere for a lot of people, they weren't even ranked in the AP last year and went all the way up to number 2, catapulted in the standings, beating teams that are ranked in the SEC. That's fun. And so I'm hoping that Tennessee can do it again. And Kentucky is another program like that as well, where, you know, they've been solid, but they've had some wins where they've just upset some teams like Florida, where you don't really see it coming unless you're close to the program. And so that's fun for football, certainly, and that's fun for SEC football, introduce some parity. So really excited to see if Tennessee can do it again. And really the last thing that I just to talk on here about in regards to like what I'm really looking forward to as the season approaches, and we'll spend more time certainly talking about college football and these programs, but really interested in what Matt Rule can do at Nebraska. This is a former Temple guy back in the day. From what I'm hearing, he had a pretty good recruiting class for Nebraska this past year with the limited time that he had. I really do think he is a winner on the college level. I know he didn't get a chance or didn't show it in the NFL with the Carolina Panthers, but at Baylor, at Temple, this dude has put together some winning programs. He can do it again, and if he can do it at Nebraska, that's going to be amazing to watch out of the Big Ten. If Nebraska can be competitive, if they can push some of these other programs such as Wisconsin, Ohio State, Michigan, if this can be another program that you can throw into the mix, it'll look really good Big Ten landscape-wise if Nebraska is good. And they haven't been good since they've been in the Big Ten, but I'm hoping Matt Rule can pump some life back into that program because they've got a fantastic history, college football history, and it's a shame that the program has fallen as much as it has. But Matt Rule, I believe, is a winner, and he can turn it around, and I would love to see it this season if it can happen at all. So excited for college football. I'm pumped that the season is almost here. This summer, I'm not really doing too much in terms of activities, I guess you could say. Got some work travel that'll be coming up here certainly this summer season. I'm going to Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con. I hadn't been back to San Diego since 2019, prior to the pandemic. I've always enjoyed going to Comic-Con as a pop culture enthusiast. I know it's supposed to be a comic book convention, but it's really morphed into like the place to be if you follow pop culture at all. And so I love pop culture. I love comic books, certainly, but I am bummed about these studios that are pulling out of the convention. So we had Marvel, Universal Pictures, Netflix, Sony. They have all backed out of Comic-Con this season, and for good reason. I'm sure the WGA or the writer's strike has something to do with that. And we're also possibly looking at the SAG-AFTRA strike as well for actors. So it could be a very chaotic summer. The writer's strike began back on May 2nd. So we're coming up close to 2 months of strike action for the Writers Guild. So, it's caused a disruption, certainly, and it's the largest interruption to American television and film production since the COVID-19 pandemic from 2020, and it's also the largest labor stoppage the WGA has performed since 2007-2008. That was the last time that the Writers Guild striked. I am certainly in solidarity with the writer's strike and the Writers Guild. I understand why the Comic-Con convention is going to look different this year, but that doesn't mean that I like it, since I'm paying to go out there, and I love sitting in on Hall H panels and seeing all the new exciting things that are coming from Marvel and Universal Pictures. Like, it's a really good hype machine, but you can't do that if the writers aren't being paid fairly. And so I get it. It's just unfortunate, what's happening. And I'm in solidarity with the Writers Guild and the WGA. And if you want to support the Writers Guild, you can donate to the Entertainment Community Fund, and I'll post a link to that on my Twitter. But yeah, that's been big news out here, certainly on the East Coast. We got a lot of great writers and a lot of productions on the East Coast. I'm sure in LA it's like the big thing out there on the West Coast. But I'll be going to Comic-Con. I'm trying to find some things to do while I'm out there, since it may look and feel different than it has in the past. Hadn't been there since before the pandemic, which is crazy. Looking for some fun things to do in San Diego, maybe outside of the convention. Trying to get some exclusive invites to some parties, because I've always wanted to go to the parties at Comic-Con. And I'm not talking parties that you pay for. Like, I'm going to some parties like that already. I'm going to some D23 event, I think on the Saturday night of Comic-Con. But I mean like invite-only type parties. Like, I'm really trying to get on a list, trying to rub elbows with the right people, just trying to have a good time, cut loose. And so that is my mission for this Comic-Con, is to get into some sort of exclusive party. So I've been, in my free time, I've been trying to go on the message boards and just follow companies that have done parties in the past to see if they're going to do any sort of parties this year, to see if I can score an invite or something like that. Fingers crossed. Good vibes, please. Good vibes, babe. But yeah, outside of work travel and Comic-Con, I don't think I'm really doing much this summer. I think my family's going to do a trip to Ocean City, Maryland, like we normally do in the summer, which is always a great time to go down to it's always a good time to go down to Maryland. We're not really the Jersey Shore family. Like, we don't go down the shore in Jersey, but we love going to Ocean City, Maryland. So that's always been a treat. We'll spend some time out there this year, and then maybe even hit up some family that's up in Minnesota, in good old Coon Rapids, Minnesota. So looking forward to that. But other than that, just trying to keep my head straight and just power through here. We're in the summer months, which is exciting. Hope you guys have a great summer vacation. Hope you don't work too hard. Hope you have time to relax and enjoy your family and your friends. And I hope you have time to listen to some cherry-picking college football analysis this summer. I'm excited for college football. Hope you are too. Thank you for downloading this episode, and I will get with y'all very, very soon here. Take care, everybody. Peace. Because I'm a Hellman's guy through and through. Like, I ride hard for Hellman's mayo. Now, if you come at me with some Miracle Whip, you better step back, because that is nasty. Keep it. Thank you again for tuning into my Cherry Pickin' podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to subscribe to my show and drop me a rating on Apple Podcasts. All of my digital content can be found at the website CherryPickinSports.com. And if you are looking to interact with me via social media, my Twitter handle is @Cherry_Pickin. That's PICKIN. On my Twitter, you'll also find a link to my blog where I post my weekly college football predictions and analysis. I can also be reached via email at cherrypickinsports@gmail.com. Please feel free to reach out to me regarding what you like about this podcast or about what content you'd like to hear more of on future episodes. I sincerely thank you for your support, and I can't wait to talk to you again soon. Take care.